There is a truth we often avoid, yet it stares us in the face. Not every battle you face is physical. Not every storm is natural. Some wars are spiritual, and the enemy doesn't always wear horns and carry a pitchfork. Demons can hide in plain sight, sometimes in the guise of those closest to us, friends, family, loved ones. To spot these forces is not an act of condemnation, but of spiritual discernment. The adversary is cunning, using people as vessels to sow discord, doubt, and destruction. But how do you discern the unseen? Scripture tells us, "By their fruits you shall know them." Look at their words, their actions, and the spirit behind them. The demonic doesn't always manifest with grand theatrics. Often it's subtle, a whisper of manipulation, a flicker of deceit, or a shadow of division. First, examine their influence. Do they draw you closer to light, or do they pull you into darkness? A friend who drags you into sin under the guise of fun or freedom may not even realize they are being used as a tool of the enemy. A family member whose words always cut, whose actions always wound, might not be acting entirely of their own accord. Second, observe patterns. Demonic influence is persistent, repeating itself to break you down over time. A person under spiritual oppression may consistently create chaos or provoke strife. They may thrive in gossip, stir unnecessary drama, or fuel rebellion. Third, test their spirit. When confronted with truth, how do they respond? Demonic influence despises light and truth. It will recoil when exposed to love, forgiveness, or prayer. Do they flee from righteousness or resist acts of faith? Fourth, recognize the power of deception. The enemy operates in confusion. If someone continually deceives, manipulates, or clouds clarity, you may be dealing with something beyond the surface. Fifth, watch for the undermining of peace. Demonic forces sow discord, particularly in places of unity, families, friendships, and marriages. If a person in your life is always at the center of division, consider whether a spiritual force may be at work. 6. Listen for spiritual warfare indicators. Do you feel heavy, restless, or drained after being in their presence? Spiritual discernment often manifests as a gut instinct. Learn to trust it. 7th, remember that love can reveal the truth. The enemy cannot counterfeit pure, unconditional love. Look for those moments when genuine love is absent and replaced by something else: manipulation, control, or selfishness. Finally, know that no one is beyond redemption. Even those under demonic influence can be freed. Prayer, compassion, and truth are your weapons. Evil in its truest form does not announce itself boldly. It operates in shadows, concealed beneath layers of illusion and subtlety. Rarely does it present itself as a roaring lion, as people often imagine. Instead, it creeps in, cloaked in deception, and often hides behind familiar faces and trusted relationships. This is one of the enemy's greatest tactics, disguising its presence in ways that make it nearly unrecognizable. The power of deception lies in its ability to blend in, to masquerade as something innocent or even beneficial. At first glance, the person or situation may seem harmless, even inviting. They may appear kind, generous, or sympathetic, presenting themselves as someone who has your best interests at heart. But evil is rarely what it seems. It hides behind charm, smiles, and even good intentions. The manipulation is so subtle that it often goes unnoticed until its effects are undeniable. The whispers of deceit grow louder over time, but only after they have already taken root in your mind and heart. Deception often uses truth as a tool. A partial truth, when twisted, can serve the enemy's purposes more effectively than an outright lie. For instance, someone close to you may speak truths that seem helpful but carry a hidden agenda. Their words may affirm your doubts, validate your fears, or encourage actions that lead you away from the light. It's not always obvious, but the intention behind their words and actions is where the true nature is revealed. They may be planting seeds of doubt, jealousy, or pride, all while appearing to be supportive. You must also be wary of the appearance of goodness. Not all kindness is genuine, and not all support is selfless. A person can perform good deeds but still harbor destructive motives. For example, a friend may offer to help you through a difficult time, but their advice may steer you toward decisions that compromise your values. The enemy often uses what looks good to mask what is harmful. A toxic relationship can initially feel comforting or exciting, but over time it may drain you spiritually, emotionally, and even physically. The goodness you perceived was a facade to draw you in. The cloak of deception doesn't only manifest in words and actions, it also operates in emotions. Guilt, shame, and fear are powerful tools of manipulation. Someone under demonic influence may use these emotions to control you, making you question your worth, your decisions, or even your faith. They may remind you of your past mistakes or exploit your vulnerabilities to keep you in a cycle of dependence or submission. These tactics are subtle, designed to erode your confidence and discernment over time. Another hallmark of deception is confusion. When you are dealing with someone who is being used by the enemy, you may find yourself constantly second-guessing your instincts. Their words and actions may create a sense of chaos in your mind, making it difficult to see clearly. You may feel as though you're walking in a fog, unable to distinguish between what is real and what is false. This confusion is not accidental, it is deliberate. The enemy thrives in environments where clarity is absent because it allows his schemes to go unnoticed. One of the most dangerous aspects of deception is its ability to distort your perception of yourself and others. A person under demonic influence may attempt to isolate you, making you feel as though no one else understands or supports you. They may subtly turn you against those who genuinely care for you, sowing seeds of distrust and division. By doing so, they gain greater control over your life, leaving you more vulnerable to their influence. The key to recognizing this cloak of deception is spiritual discernment. The enemy relies on our inability to see clearly, our willingness to overlook red flags, and our tendency to rationalize harmful behavior. To uncover the truth, you must look beyond appearances and examine the spirit behind the words, actions, and emotions you encounter. Only then can the mask of deception be removed, revealing the true nature of what lies beneath. The actions of a person are windows into their spirit, revealing far more than their words ever could. Scripture teaches us that by their fruits you will know them, and it is this principle that serves as a powerful guide in discerning the spiritual forces at work within someone. Actions are not random, they are manifestations of the heart and spirit. They show allegiance, whether it is to light or to darkness, by observing what someone produces in their life. When someone is aligned with light, their actions will reflect it. They will show kindness without expectation, love without condition, and a genuine desire to uplift others. These fruits are not always dramatic. They can be simple acts of grace, moments of selflessness, or quiet support during difficult times. They reveal a person who is connected to something greater than themselves, someone who draws their strength and guidance from a source of goodness and truth. You feel a sense of peace in their presence, a clarity that lifts your spirit rather than weighing it down. But when someone is influenced by darkness, their actions tell a different story. These fruits are not as immediately obvious because darkness often disguises itself as light. A person may appear helpful on the surface, but their actions may ultimately lead to harm, division, or confusion. They may sow seeds of doubt, causing you to question yourself or others, or create discord in relationships that once flourished. Their actions, rather than building others up, tear them down, sometimes subtly, sometimes openly. The fruits of darkness are manipulative and self-serving, leaving a trail of harm in their wake. One way to discern the spirit behind someone's actions is to examine the effect they have on you and others. Do their actions bring you closer to the truth, or do they pull you further into doubt and despair? A person who operates from a place of light will encourage growth, inspire faith, and help you find clarity even in difficult times. Their actions will have a grounding effect, helping you to feel secure and hopeful. In contrast, someone under the influence of darkness may leave you feeling unsettled, confused, or spiritually drained. Their actions may seem helpful at first, but often carry hidden motives or unintended consequences that leave you worse off than before. Another key indicator lies in patterns. Is the person consistent in their actions, or do they change depending on the situation? Someone who walks in light will exhibit a steady, unwavering commitment to doing what is right, even when it's difficult. Their actions will align with their words, showing integrity and authenticity. On the other hand, a person influenced by darkness may act unpredictably, creating instability in your life. They may promise one thing and deliver another, or their actions may contradict the values they claim to hold. This inconsistency is often a sign of deeper spiritual conflict. You must also pay attention to the ripple effects of their actions. A single act may seem small, but its impact can reveal much about the spirit behind it. Do their actions promote unity, healing, and reconciliation, or do they cause division, harm, and unrest? A person influenced by light will naturally bring people together, fostering understanding and love. Someone influenced by darkness, however, will often leave relationships fractured and people wounded. It's important to remember that the fruits of a person's spirit are not always visible immediately. Some actions take time to reveal their true nature, whether good or bad. This is why discernment requires patience and prayer. It's easy to be deceived by appearances, but if you take the time to look closely, the truth will always emerge. By focusing on the fruits of a person's actions, you can uncover the deeper spiritual reality behind them, allowing you to navigate relationships with wisdom and grace. Discernment is essential when evaluating the relationships and influences in your life, and one of the most telling tests is determining whether a person leads you closer to light or pulls you into darkness. This principle serves as a spiritual compass, helping you navigate the complexities of human interactions. Influence is not always overt. Often, it is subtle, shaping your thoughts, emotions, and actions in ways you may not immediately recognize. The direction of this influence, toward light or toward darkness, reveals the spiritual nature of the person behind it. A person who leads you closer to light will naturally encourage you to grow, both spiritually and morally. Their influence inspires positive change, pushing you toward the best version of yourself. This doesn't necessarily mean they preach to you or try to impose their beliefs, but their presence, actions, and words elevate your thinking and behavior. They may challenge you in ways that encourage growth, offering guidance that aligns with truth, wisdom, and integrity. You'll find that after spending time with them, you feel uplifted, motivated, and strengthened. These individuals act as vessels of light, drawing from a source of goodness and channeling it into your life. In contrast, those who pull you into darkness often do so under the guise of something appealing. Darkness rarely appears as overt malevolence. Instead, it cloaks itself in what seems harmless or even attractive. These individuals may present themselves as fun, adventurous, or understanding, but their influence ultimately leads you away from what is good and true. They might encourage behaviors that compromise your values or lead you to neglect the principles that keep you grounded. This could take the form of tempting you into harmful habits, fostering a sense of cynicism, or feeding into your fears and insecurities. While their influence may feel exciting or freeing in the moment, it ultimately leaves you feeling lost, drained, or even ashamed. The pull toward darkness often manifests as a gradual process rather than an abrupt shift. It starts with small compromises, moments when you rationalize behavior you would normally avoid. For instance, a friend might encourage you to gossip about others, dismissing it as harmless fun, Over time, these small actions add up, and you may find yourself becoming someone you don't recognize. This is how darkness operates, slowly, subtly, until its influence becomes pervasive. A person who consistently draws you into such behaviors is leading you away from light, even if their intentions appear innocent. You can also recognize the nature of someone's influence by examining your spiritual and emotional state after interacting with them. A person who leads you closer to light will leave you feeling a sense of peace, clarity, and hope. They help you see possibilities, encourage you to overcome challenges, and remind you of your worth. On the other hand, someone who pulls you into darkness may leave you feeling confused, anxious, or burdened. You may notice a heaviness in your spirit, as though your inner light has dimmed after spending time with them. This emotional and spiritual toll is a clear indicator of the direction in which they are leading you. It's important to understand that influence is not limited to obvious actions or words. Sometimes it is the unspoken energy a person carries, their attitudes, beliefs, and intentions that has a profound impact on you. For example, a family member who constantly complains or spreads negativity may slowly chip away at your optimism and faith, even if they never directly ask you to do anything harmful. Similarly, a friend who lives recklessly may subtly encourage you to adopt the same mindset, normalizing behaviors that you once found troubling. Recognizing these influences requires attentiveness and self-awareness. The test of influence ultimately comes down to alignment. A person aligned with light will naturally point you toward what is good, true, and eternal. Their influence will make you want to seek truth, embrace love, and pursue peace. In contrast, someone aligned with darkness will lead you to prioritize fleeting pleasures, foster division, and stray from the principles that give life meaning. By asking yourself whether someone is drawing you closer to light or darkness, you gain the clarity needed to navigate relationships with wisdom and intention. Demonic influence often reveals itself in patterns. It is persistent, calculated, and intentional, seeking to undermine stability and create spiritual chaos over time. While individual incidents might seem isolated or insignificant, the presence of recurring themes and behaviors often signals a deeper, more sinister force at work. Understanding these patterns is essential to discern the spiritual nature of those around you and the impact they may have on your life. One common pattern is the creation of conflict and division. A person under demonic influence may seem to thrive in environments of strife, perpetually stirring up arguments, tension, and misunderstandings. Their actions often provoke emotional reactions, triggering anger, resentment, or bitterness in others. They might appear to be peacemakers on the surface, yet their involvement seems to escalate disagreements rather than resolve them. Over time, this repeated behavior erodes trust, unity, and harmony in relationships, leaving behind a wake of broken bonds and fractured communities. The pattern of division is never coincidental. It is a hallmark of darkness which seeks to isolate and conquer by turning people against one another. Another recurring theme is manipulation and control. Individuals influenced by darkness often exhibit a pattern of using subtle tactics to dominate others emotionally or mentally. They might employ guilt, shame, or fear as tools to sway your decisions or keep you under their influence. This manipulation is rarely overt. It often comes wrapped in concern or care, making it harder to recognize at first. For example, they may guilt you into prioritizing their needs over your own, or instill fear about stepping away from their influence. This pattern of control creates a dynamic where you feel trapped, unable to make choices freely without their input or approval. Over time, this repeated manipulation erodes your sense of self and leaves you vulnerable to further exploitation. A person under demonic influence may also display a pattern of deceit. Lies, half-truths, and exaggerations are woven into their interactions, creating an environment of confusion and mistrust. These lies may serve their agenda, whether to protect themselves, gain power, or deflect accountability. The pattern becomes evident when you notice inconsistencies in their stories or discover that their words often do not align with reality. This habitual deceit is not just a character flaw, it is a tool of darkness designed to distort truth and sow uncertainty. Over time, it becomes clear that their pattern of dishonesty is not accidental but deliberate, serving a deeper purpose to destabilize and control. Another telltale sign is the repetitive nature of destructive behaviors. Someone under spiritual oppression may engage in cycles of actions that harm themselves or others. For instance, they may repeatedly make choices that lead to addiction, self-sabotage, or relational destruction. Even when given opportunities to change or avoid negative consequences, they seem drawn back to the same harmful paths. This pattern is often a sign of bondage, where the individual is not entirely in control of their actions. Their repeated mistakes and failures become tools of the enemy, not only to destroy their life, but also to influence and hurt those around them. A less obvious but equally dangerous pattern is the undermining of hope and faith. A person under demonic influence may exhibit behaviors that chip away at your optimism, joy, or belief in something greater. They might consistently speak words of discouragement, highlight the worst in every situation, or downplay the power of faith and prayer. Over time, their negativity and skepticism form a pattern that leaves you feeling spiritually drained and disconnected. This erosion of hope and faith is deliberate, as the enemy seeks to weaken your spiritual foundation and leave you vulnerable to further attack. It's crucial to recognize that these patterns are often subtle at first. They may emerge slowly, making it easy to dismiss individual incidents as coincidental or unrelated. However, when you step back and view the bigger picture, the consistency of these behaviors becomes undeniable. The persistence of conflict, manipulation, deceit, self-destruction, and spiritual erosion reveals the underlying force at work. This recognition allows you to guard your spirit, stand firm in truth, and seek the discernment necessary to navigate such relationships wisely. Patterns are the fingerprints of spiritual influence, and identifying them is a critical step in breaking free from their hold. One of the clearest indicators of spiritual influence in a person's life is the consistency between their words and actions. Words are easy to speak, they require little effort and can be carefully crafted to create an impression. However, actions reveal the truth. They are the physical manifestations of a person's heart, motives, and spiritual alignment. When someone's words and actions do not match, it is a sign of deeper spiritual inconsistency and often deception. A person aligned with light will exhibit harmony between what they say and what they do. Their promises will be kept, their commitments honored, and their values lived out in their daily lives. You will notice that their words are not empty, but are supported by evidence in their behavior. For example, if they speak about kindness, you will see them actively helping others without expecting anything in return. If they claim to value honesty, their actions will reflect transparency and integrity. This consistency between speech and behavior creates trust and stability, reflecting a spirit rooted in truth. On the other hand, when someone's words and actions are in conflict, it often signals deception or manipulation. They may say one thing to gain your trust or approval, but act in a way that contradicts their promises or values. For instance, they might speak of loyalty and friendship, but betray you when it serves their interests. They may talk about love and forgiveness while harboring bitterness or engaging in harmful actions. This inconsistency reveals a disconnection between their outward persona and their inner reality, a space where darkness often operates. Inconsistency between words and actions is a tool frequently used by those under demonic influence to confuse and manipulate. Words can be used to create a false sense of security, leading you to believe in their intentions, while their actions work against you in subtle or overt ways. For example, someone might express care and concern for you, but their actions continually undermine your confidence or well-being. This duality is not accidental. It is a deliberate strategy to keep you off balance, doubting your instincts and perceptions. Over time, this pattern can erode your trust, not only in them, but also in yourself and even in your faith. Such contradictions can also serve to normalize harmful behaviors. A person under the influence of darkness might say all the right things to appear moral or trustworthy, yet their actions slowly introduce destructive patterns into your life. They may justify their behavior by twisting their words to fit the situation, creating an ever-shifting standard of what is acceptable. This inconsistency leaves you in a state of confusion, making it difficult to discern the truth. The goal of this tactic is to create chaos and destabilize your spiritual grounding, opening the door for further deception. It's important to note that such inconsistencies are not always blatant. In many cases, they are subtle, revealed over time through repeated behavior. You may notice small discrepancies at first, a broken promise here, a contradiction there, but when you step back and look at the bigger picture, a clear pattern emerges. This is why discernment is so crucial. It allows you to identify these inconsistencies early and recognize them for what they are, a sign of spiritual misalignment. Another key aspect of this dynamic is the emotional toll it takes. When someone's words and actions are consistently at odds, it creates a sense of instability in your relationship with them. You may feel confused, frustrated, or even betrayed as their actions fail to match the image they project. This emotional dissonance is not accidental. It is often a tool of manipulation designed to keep you emotionally off balance and more susceptible to control. Ultimately, the alignment, or lack thereof, between words and actions speaks volumes about a person's spiritual state. Those walking in light demonstrate integrity, where their actions serve as a natural extension of their words. Conversely, those influenced by darkness use this dissonance to deceive and destabilize. Recognizing this inconsistency is not about judgment, but about protection, guarding your spirit against influences that seek to harm or mislead. By paying close attention to the relationship between words and actions, you gain insight into the true nature of the person and the forces at work within them. The company you keep plays a significant role in shaping your spiritual, emotional, and even mental well-being. It is often said that we become like those we spend the most time with, and this principle holds true in every sphere of life. When discerning the spiritual influences around you, one critical factor to consider is whether a person surrounds themselves with light or darkness. The people someone consistently chooses to associate with are a reflection of their values, priorities, and the spiritual forces that guide them. Observing these connections can offer profound insights into their true nature and the impact they might have on your life. People who align themselves with light are naturally drawn to others who share similar values, individuals who inspire goodness, integrity, and growth. This does not mean their friends or associates are perfect, but it does mean they are committed to a higher purpose, seeking to uplift one another and pursue truth. You will notice that in these circles there is an atmosphere of encouragement, accountability, and support. Even in moments of conflict or difficulty, these relationships foster healing, reconciliation, and mutual respect. A person who consistently surrounds themselves with others who embody these qualities is likely rooted in the same spiritual foundation, drawing strength and guidance from the light. On the other hand, someone who gravitates toward darkness will often associate with people who reflect that influence. These connections may be characterized by negativity, destructive behaviors, and a lack of accountability. You might observe a pattern of relationships that thrive on gossip, manipulation, or division. Instead of building each other up, these individuals seem to feed on one another's weaknesses, creating an environment where unhealthy behaviors are not only tolerated, but encouraged. A person who chooses to remain in such circles is likely aligned with the same spiritual forces that perpetuate this darkness, whether consciously or unconsciously. The relationships a person maintains also reveal their priorities and motivations. For instance, Someone who values honesty and integrity will seek out others who live by these principles, even if it requires effort or sacrifice. In contrast, a person influenced by darkness may prioritize convenience, power, or self-interest, choosing to associate with those who enable or validate their behavior. This choice of company is not incidental, it is a reflection of the spirit that guides them. By observing the nature of their relationships, you can discern whether they are walking in alignment with light or being pulled into darkness. Another important aspect to consider is the ripple effect of their relationships. When someone is surrounded by individuals who reflect light, the positive influence tends to extend beyond the immediate circle. You might notice that their friendships inspire others to seek truth, act with kindness, and grow in faith. These relationships become a source of strength, not just for the individuals involved, but for everyone they touch. Conversely, when a person is connected to darkness, the effects are often destructive. Their relationships may spread division, foster negativity, or create an atmosphere of confusion and despair. This impact is not limited to their immediate circle, but can extend to others who come into contact with them. It's also worth noting that the company a person keeps can either reinforce or challenge their spiritual alignment. Even someone striving to walk in light can be drawn into darkness if they surround themselves with the wrong influences. Likewise, a person struggling with darkness might find redemption and guidance by seeking relationships rooted in truth and goodness. The choice of companions is rarely neutral. It either strengthens their alignment with light or deepens their connection to darkness. Finally, consider how their relationships affect you. Do you feel uplifted and inspired when you are around them and their circle, or do you feel drained and burdened? The spirit of their relationships often extends to those on the outside, offering further insight into the nature of their influence. If their company consistently leads you toward peace, clarity, and growth, it is a sign that they are aligned with light. But if their relationships leave you feeling unsettled, confused, or spiritually depleted, it may indicate the presence of darkness. By observing the company a person keeps, you gain a deeper understanding of the spiritual forces at work in their life. Their relationships act as a mirror reflecting their true priorities and influences. This insight allows you to navigate your interactions with discernment, ensuring that you remain aligned with light and guarded against the forces of darkness. A person's true spiritual alignment often becomes evident when they are confronted with their flaws. No one is perfect and everyone makes mistakes, but it is how an individual responds to correction that reveals the nature of their heart. This response, whether they embrace humility or resist with pride, serves as a window into their spiritual state. It is in these moments of vulnerability and confrontation that the presence of light or darkness within them becomes most apparent. A person influenced by light will respond to correction with humility. They may not enjoy being corrected. After all, no one finds it easy to face their shortcomings, but they will acknowledge the truth when it is presented to them. Their focus is not on defending their pride or justifying their mistakes, but on seeking growth and improvement. When someone corrects them, they take the opportunity to reflect and ask themselves whether the criticism is valid. If it is, they work to change their behavior and make amends where necessary. This willingness to be accountable is a sign of a heart that seeks truth and a spirit that is open to transformation. Humility in the face of correction is a hallmark of spiritual maturity. It reflects an understanding that no one is above reproach and that growth often comes through moments of discomfort. A humble person recognizes that being corrected is not a threat but a gift, an opportunity to become better, wiser, and more aligned with what is right. They do not allow their ego to dominate their response. Instead, they submit their pride to the greater goal of truth and righteousness. This attitude creates an atmosphere of peace and reconciliation, even in the midst of difficult conversations. It is a sign that they are walking in light and allowing that light to guide their actions. In contrast, a person under the influence of darkness will often react to correction with resistance, defiance, or hostility. Instead of examining the truth of what is being said, they will focus on protecting their ego at all costs. They may dismiss the correction outright, attack the person offering it, or twist the situation to avoid accountability. Their response is not rooted in a desire to grow or learn, but in a need to maintain control and avoid vulnerability. This defensive posture is a reflection of pride, a characteristic that darkness uses to keep people bound and resistant to change. Pride, in this context, serves as a barrier between the person and the truth. It blinds them to their own flaws and weaknesses, preventing them from seeing the harm their actions may be causing. Instead of acknowledging their mistakes, they may rationalize or deflect, turning the focus away from themselves and onto others. Over time, this pattern of resistance to correction creates a cycle of stagnation and spiritual decay. They remain trapped in their shortcomings, unable to grow or move forward because they refuse to confront the truth. This unwillingness to be corrected is a hallmark of darkness, which thrives on deception and denial. The way someone handles correction also impacts their relationships. A person who embraces humility creates an environment where others feel safe to offer guidance and feedback. This openness fosters trust, respect, and mutual growth. On the other hand, someone who resists correction often creates tension and division. Their refusal to accept responsibility can lead to unresolved conflicts, broken relationships, and an atmosphere of mistrust. The ripple effects of their resistance extend beyond themselves, affecting everyone they interact with. Another aspect to consider is the emotional energy of their response. When corrected, does the person respond with grace and self-reflection, or do they become defensive, angry, or dismissive? Their emotional reaction often reveals the deeper spiritual forces at work within them. A calm and thoughtful response suggests an alignment with light, while a volatile or dismissive reaction points to the influence of darkness. This emotional energy not only impacts the person being corrected, but also affects those who witness or are involved in the interaction. Observing how someone handles correction is not about judgment, it is about discernment. It allows you to understand their spiritual alignment and the potential impact they may have on your life. A person walking in light will inspire you to approach your own flaws with humility and a willingness to grow. Conversely, someone resistant to correction may lead you to adopt similar patterns of pride and defensiveness, pulling you further from the truth. Ultimately, the test of correction reveals much about a person's character and spiritual foundation. Those who embrace humility demonstrate a heart that seeks truth and alignment with what is right, while those who resist with pride show a spirit that is more concerned with self-preservation than transformation. By paying attention to these responses, you gain valuable insight into the spiritual forces influencing those around you, enabling you to navigate your relationships with wisdom and clarity. When examining the spiritual nature of those around you, one critical area to observe is how they react when confronted with truth. Truth has an unmistakable power. It illuminates, convicts, and brings clarity. It challenges illusions and forces hidden motives into the light. For some, truth is a source of liberation, an invitation to grow and align with righteousness. For others, it is a threat, something to be avoided, distorted, or silenced. A person's reaction to truth reveals the spiritual forces at work within them and their alignment with light or darkness. A person walking in light welcomes truth even when it is uncomfortable. They may not find it easy to hear or accept, but they value its transformative power. Their spirit recognizes truth as a foundation upon which to build a life of integrity, peace, and purpose. When confronted with truth that challenges their actions, beliefs, or decisions, they respond with humility and reflection. They are willing to acknowledge their mistakes, correct their course, and seek understanding. This openness to truth demonstrates a heart that desires growth and a spirit that aligns with righteousness. They understand that truth even when it exposes flaws, is a gift that ultimately leads to freedom. This openness to truth is not passive. A person aligned with light actively seeks out truth in all aspects of life. They are not satisfied with half-truths or surface-level understanding. They dig deeper, searching for the principles that guide them toward what is right. Whether in their relationships, decisions, or faith, they are willing to face difficult realities to ensure they remain grounded in truth. This pursuit creates a life marked by authenticity and integrity, inspiring trust and respect in others. It reflects a spiritual alignment that values clarity and transparency over deception or ignorance. In contrast, a person under the influence of darkness often reacts to truth with resistance, denial, or hostility. For them, truth is a threat that exposes their motives, actions, or beliefs as flawed or harmful. Instead of embracing it, they seek to suppress or distort it. They may react defensively, dismissing the truth or attacking the person who brings it to light. This resistance reveals a heart that is more concerned with self-preservation than with growth or righteousness. Their spirit rejects the illuminating power of truth because it challenges the darkness within them. One common reaction is outright denial. A person resistant to truth may refuse to acknowledge it even when the evidence is undeniable. They create excuses, shift blame, or twist the facts to suit their narrative. This denial is not just a refusal to face reality, it is a spiritual resistance to the light that truth brings. Darkness thrives in deception, and denying truth allows that deception to persist. Over time, this pattern of denial becomes a barrier to growth, trapping the individual in a cycle of falsehoods and stagnation. Another reaction to truth is distortion. Instead of outright denying it, some may twist the truth to align with their agenda. They manipulate facts, add misleading details, or omit critical information to make the truth appear as something it is not. This tactic is a hallmark of darkness, which seeks to confuse and mislead. By distorting truth, they create an environment of uncertainty and mistrust, making it difficult for others to discern what is real. This behavior is not accidental. It is a deliberate attempt to undermine the power of truth and maintain control. Hostility is another common response to truth from those under the influence of darkness. When confronted with a truth that challenges their actions or beliefs, they may react with anger or aggression. This hostility is a defense mechanism designed to silence the truth and intimidate those who speak it. It reveals a spirit that is unwilling to change and deeply resistant to the light. Such reactions create an atmosphere of fear and division, preventing constructive dialogue and reconciliation. A person's reaction to truth also has a ripple effect on those around them. Someone who embraces truth fosters an environment of honesty and growth. They encourage others to seek and speak truth, creating relationships built on trust and mutual respect. Conversely, someone who resists truth spreads confusion and fear. Their rejection of truth can influence others to doubt or suppress it, perpetuating a cycle of deception and darkness. Observing how someone responds to truth offers deep insight into their spiritual alignment. A willingness to embrace truth, even when it is challenging, reflects a heart open to light and transformation. Resistance, denial, or hostility, on the other hand, reveals a spirit influenced by darkness, more concerned with maintaining control than with seeking what is right. Understanding these reactions allows you to navigate your relationships with wisdom, ensuring you remain aligned with light and protected from the forces of deception. Truth is the ultimate test of spiritual alignment, and a person's response to it speaks volumes about the forces at work within them. In the journey of discerning the spiritual influences in the lives of those around us, every detail, words, actions, relationships, responses to correction, and alignment with truth, becomes a vital piece of the puzzle. It is through careful observation and spiritual discernment that we can recognize whether a person is walking in the light or succumbing to the pull of darkness. This awareness is not about judgment but protection and clarity, ensuring that we safeguard our own spirits and cultivate relationships that nurture goodness, truth, and growth. By remaining vigilant and grounded in truth, we position ourselves to walk in alignment with light, serving as beacons of love and wisdom in a world often clouded by deception.